Okay, so if you're heading into management, let's talk about the single biggest tug-of-war you're probably going to face in your career. It's this constant battle between the traditional bottom line, making money, and a much bigger idea, having a purpose.
It really all comes down to this one simple-sounding question. But trust me, the way a company answers this, that defines everything about it. Its culture, its strategy, its entire place in the world. And I want you to get this. This is not just some abstract theory you can cram for on an exam and then forget. No, this is a live debate happening in boardrooms right now, every single day. And the side you eventually choose will have very, very real consequences for you and your company.
So, let's really get into it. To understand what's happening today, you've got to know the two classic opposing viewpoints. Think of them as the two fundamental sides of the same corporate coin.
So, in one corner, you've got the legendary economist Milton Friedman. His idea of the Friedman Doctrine is brutally simple. A company's one and only social responsibility is to make as much money as possible for its owners. Period. For him, using company profits for social causes was basically spending someone else's money, and he thought that was unethical. But on the other side, you have this case for social responsibility. This view says, whoa, hold on a second. Businesses don't operate in a bubble. They're part of society. And because of that, they have a real duty to help make that society better, not just to fill up their own bank accounts.
All right, so that's the big philosophical debate. But how do modern companies actually handle this in the real world? Well, it's all about moving past just having good intentions and creating a real, practical playbook for how to act.
And that brings us to a really important term, social responsiveness. Look, if social responsibility is the what, the thing a company feels it should do, then social responsiveness is all about the how. How well did they actually pull it off? It's not enough to just say you care, it's about being effective and efficient in making a real, measurable impact.
So how in the world do you measure doing good effectively? For the longest time, the only thing that mattered was profit, the single bottom line. But today, the real gold standard for companies that take this seriously is something called the triple bottom line. It pushes managers to look at their performance through three totally different lenses.
First up, the one everybody knows, the economy. Yep, the classic financial bottom line. Is the company actually making a fair profit? Is it running efficiently? Let's be real, this part is non-negotiable. Without it, the company doesn't survive.
Number two is the environment. Is the organization being a good steward of the planet we all share? We're talking about everything from the air we breathe and the water we drink to conserving energy and using land responsibly.
And finally, number three, society. Is the business actively making life better in the communities where it operates? Things like fair labor practices, keeping workers and customers safe, all that good stuff.
So here's where it all comes together. When you can actually balance all three of those things, economy, environment, and society, that's when you achieve true sustainability. The whole goal is to build a company that can succeed today without messing things up for everyone who comes after us.
And please, don't think for a second this is just some fluffy, feel-good corporate slogan. This is hardcore business strategy. As Steve Howard, a top exec at IKEA, famously said, sustainability is the future of business. And honestly, there's no better example of this than IKEA itself.
I mean, IKEA is just a masterclass in making profit and purpose work hand in hand. They shrink their packaging, which helps the environment, and slashes their shipping costs. They have a super strict code for their suppliers that forbids child labor, which protects kids and their own brand. They pour money into things like solar panels. And get this, just by switching to more efficient lighting, they save over $20 million a year. See? Every single move is good for the planet and great for business.
Okay, we've been talking big picture, about the company. But let's bring it down to the individual level, to you. Because all of this really comes down to the decisions that people make. This is about your personal playbook as a manager, your ethics.
Business ethics isn't about memorizing a bunch of rules. It's really about developing a skill. The ability to just hit pause, reflect on what you believe in, and seriously consider how a decision is going to ripple out and affect everyone involved, your employees, your customers, and the whole community.
So when you're in a tough spot, here's a little toolkit for you. Think of these as three different lenses you can look through to get some clarity. First, the utilitarian lens. Which option does the most good for the most people? Second, the rights lens. Does my decision respect the basic rights and dignity of every single person? And third, the virtue lens. Does this choice line up with values I admire, like honesty and fairness?
And the stakes for getting this wrong? They are incredibly high. After the absolute disaster that was the Enron scandal, where execs literally lied about their finances to hide billions in debt, the US government stepped in. They passed the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which made one thing crystal clear. Massive ethical failures aren't just bad PR. They're crimes. You can go to prison.
The Enron scandal also really put a spotlight on this role, the whistleblower. This is the person inside the company who sees something wrong, something illegal or unethical, and has the guts to speak up. People like Sharon Watkins at Enron, or the folks who exposed the fake account scandal at Wells Fargo, they took huge personal risks, but their courage brought enormous wrongdoing into the light.
All right, let's bring all of this right back to you. Because in just a few short years, this isn't going to be a concept and a lecture. This is going to be your job. You'll be the one in the hot seat making these calls. It's going to be your turn at the top. And that's exactly why understanding this stuff is so important for your career. Being a manager who actually gets social responsibility isn't just a nice little bonus on your resume, it's a massive advantage. It creates loyal customers, it makes the company more successful, and it builds your personal reputation as a leader people can trust. That makes you more valuable, and it puts you on the fast track for bigger and better things. So, we're going to leave you with this question to think about. After all of this, the debates, the tools, the huge consequences, when it's your turn, when you're the one in charge, what's your bottom line going to be?